Title: Inside Angola Prison, the hidden skills inmates master behind bars. Help this channel grow. Like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe for more stories. This helps us a lot. Thank you. The story begins. In rural Louisiana, bordered by the Mississippi River and surrounded by farmland, sits Louisiana State Penitentiary, Angola. Often referred to simply as Angola, this is the largest maximum security prison in the United States. Covering more than 18,000 acres of former plantation land, Angola is not just a prison. It is a self-contained institution that functions more like a small town than a traditional correctional facility. Angola is known to the public for its size, its long sentences, and its history. What is far less visible is the internal system that keeps the prison operating every day, the labor, skills, and institutional knowledge developed by inmates who may spend decades, or the rest of their lives, inside its walls. Unlike many prisons where turnover is high, Angola houses a large population of men serving life sentences or extremely long terms. This reality has shaped the prison structure. When incarceration is measured in decades, the institution must rely on long-term stability rather than short-term containment. Over time, this has led to the development of a wide range of inmate-run work programs that are essential to Angola's daily operations. Work at Angola is not incidental. It is foundational. The prison operates extensive agricultural fields, workshops, kitchens, maintenance crews, and service departments. Inmates plant and harvest crops, raise livestock, repair equipment, build furniture, maintain plumbing and electrical systems, sew uniforms, print materials, and prepare thousands of meals each day. Without this labor, Angola could not function at its current scale. Many inmates arrive at Angola with no formal trade experience. Over time, they learn skills through structured work assignments, informal mentorship, and repetition. A man assigned to carpentry may spend years learning how to measure, cut, assemble, and repair furniture used across the prison. Others become skilled welders, mechanics, or electricians, maintaining aging infrastructure across thousands of acres. These skills are rarely acknowledged outside the prison. There are no certifications handed out in ceremonies. No public resume lines. Yet inside Angola, skill is respected currency. Inmates who demonstrate reliability and craftsmanship are often trusted with more responsibility, whether maintaining critical systems or training others. Agriculture remains one of Angola's most visible labor systems. Inmates work the fields growing crops such as corn, soybeans, and vegetables that help feed the prison population. Others tend livestock, repair fencing, or operate farm equipment under supervision. This work follows strict schedules and routines, shaped by seasons rather than court dates. For inmates serving life sentences, agricultural labor can become a permanent part of their identity inside the institution. Beyond physical trades, Angola relies heavily on inmate labor for internal services. Inmates work in kitchens preparing meals, in laundries cleaning uniforms and linens, and in warehouses managing supplies. Some serve as clerks, librarians, or aides in educational and religious programs. These roles require organization, literacy, and consistency, skills developed slowly over time. One of the most widely recognized programs at Angola is its inmate-run hospice. As the prison population ages, terminal illness has become a reality for many inmates who will never be released. In response, Angola developed a hospice program in which trained inmates provide end-of-life care to fellow prisoners. These hospice workers assist with daily needs, offer comfort, and remain with patients in their final moments. The program has been documented and studied as a rare example of peer-provided care inside a maximum security prison. For hospice workers, the role is not symbolic. It requires training, emotional discipline, and commitment. In a place defined by punishment, the hospice introduces a different kind of responsibility, one centered on dignity and compassion rather than control. Education and faith-based programs also play a role in skill development. Angola hosts classrooms, vocational training, and religious studies that allow inmates to learn reading, writing, counseling, and leadership skills. While opportunities are limited compared to life outside, they offer structure and purpose in an environment where time can otherwise feel endless. The importance of work at Angola goes beyond productivity. For inmates serving long or life sentences, work creates routine. Routine creates stability. Stability reduces conflict. In a prison of Angola's size, these factors are critical. Idle populations increase tension. Structured labor helps manage it. This does not mean the system is without controversy. Inmate labor in the American prison system has long been debated, particularly at Angola, given its location on former plantation land and its historical use of agricultural labor. These realities are part of Angola's complex legacy and continue to raise ethical questions about incarceration, compensation, and choice. Yet within the walls, the labor system has become deeply embedded in daily life. Many inmates take pride in mastering a trade, not because it promises freedom, but because it offers meaning. When release is unlikely, purpose becomes something that must be built where one stands. For correctional staff, inmate labor is also essential. Skilled inmate workers reduce maintenance backlogs, support daily operations, and help stabilize the environment. Officers and administrators rely on inmate crews who understand the institution better than anyone. Over time, these roles create a quiet interdependence between custody and labor that keeps the prison functioning. Angola is often described only in terms of punishment and permanence. But beneath that narrative exists another reality. A place where men learn to fix engines, build furniture, grow food, care for the dying, and keep an enormous institution running day after day. These skills are not pathways to freedom for most inmates at Angola. They are tools for survival inside a place defined by time. They shape identity, routine, and self-worth in an environment where those things are easily lost. This is the foundation of life inside Angola prison. Not just bars and sentences, but labor, skill, and the quiet systems that operate behind them. In the next chapter, we will look more closely at how these skills are learned, passed down, and sustained over years and decades, and what they reveal about life inside one of America's most enduring prisons. How skills are learned, passed down, and preserved. Inside Louisiana State Penitentiary, Angola, skills are not learned in classrooms alone. They are learned through time, repetition, and mentorship inside an institution where many men will never leave. In a place built to confine people for decades, knowledge becomes one of the few things that can still grow. When an inmate is assigned to a work detail at Angola, the process usually begins at the most basic level. A new worker starts by observing, watching how tools are handled, how schedules are followed, how mistakes are corrected. In workshops, kitchens, fields, and maintenance crews, learning is practical and incremental. There is little room for theory. Everything must function, and it must function safely. Unlike short-term facilities where workers rotate frequently, Angola's long sentences create continuity. A man who learns welding or carpentry in his 30s may still be practicing the same trade 20 or 30 years later. Over time, he becomes an informal instructor. New inmates assigned to the same detail learn from him, not through manuals but through daily work. This transfer of knowledge is quiet, constant, and essential. In the agricultural operations, this mentorship is especially visible. Inmates who have spent years working the fields understand planting cycles, irrigation systems, equipment maintenance, and seasonal challenges unique to Louisiana's climate. New workers are taught when to plant, how to manage machinery, and how to work efficiently under supervision. These lessons are not written down. They are passed on verbally and through example, generation after generation. Workshops operate in a similar way. In carpentry and fabrication shops, inmates learn how to measure accurately, cut materials, assemble furniture, and repair existing structures. Mistakes are corrected not only to improve skill, but because errors can affect safety and durability across the prison. A poorly built table or faulty repair can cause injury or disrupt operations. Precision matters. The kitchens provide another form of skill building. Preparing thousands of meals daily requires coordination, timing, and cleanliness. Inmates assigned to food service learn inventory management, large-scale cooking, sanitation procedures, and teamwork. These are not glamorous skills, but they are complex. Keeping meals consistent and safe in a facility of Angola's size is a logistical task that depends heavily on trained inmate labor. Maintenance crews often develop some of the most technically demanding skills. Plumbing, electrical repair, HVAC maintenance, and structural upkeep are constant needs in a prison that spans thousands of acres and includes aging infrastructure. Inmates who demonstrate aptitude are trained to diagnose problems, perform repairs, and maintain systems that affect housing units, medical facilities, and administrative buildings. Their work keeps daily life running smoothly, often without public recognition. One of the most distinctive examples of skill transfer at Angola is the Inmate Hospice program. In this program, selected inmates receive training to care for terminally ill prisoners. They learn how to assist with mobility, hygiene, comfort measures, and emotional support. Hospice workers are taught to remain calm, patient, and attentive, skills that require discipline and empathy rather than physical strength. These hospice skills are passed down deliberately. Experienced hospice workers train new volunteers, explaining not just procedures, but the emotional responsibility of caring for someone at the end of life. In a prison defined by punishment, the hospice stands apart as a space where compassion becomes a learned skill. Education programs at Angola also contribute to this internal knowledge system. While opportunities vary, inmates can participate in literacy classes, vocational training, and religious studies. Some earn degrees through partnerships with external institutions. Others learn public speaking, counseling, or mentoring skills through peer-led programs. These forms of education are slower and less visible than trades, but they shape leadership and communication inside the prison. Faith-based programs play a role as well. Angola is known for its religious services and seminars, which often involve inmate participation in organizing events, mentoring others, or assisting chaplaincy staff. These roles require planning, responsibility, and interpersonal skills that extend beyond the individual. The preservation of skill at Angola depends heavily on stability. Because many inmates remain in the same work assignments for years, institutional knowledge does not disappear with transfers or releases. A man who knows how to repair a specific piece of machinery may be the only person inside who understands it fully. When he trains someone else, that knowledge is preserved. This continuity benefits prison administration. Skilled inmate workers reduce reliance on outside contractors, speed up repairs, and help manage the facility's scale. Over time, a quiet trust develops around competence. While security boundaries remain firm, administrators and staff rely on inmate expertise to keep operations functioning. At the same time, this system reflects the reality of long-term incarceration. Many of the skills developed at Angola will never be used outside its walls. For inmates serving life sentences, the value of a trade is not future employment, but present purpose. Work becomes a way to measure time, contribute meaningfully, and maintain identity. There are ethical questions embedded in this structure. Angola's history as a former plantation and its reliance on agricultural labor have long been subjects of criticism. The debate over compensation, choice, and fairness remains unresolved. These concerns are part of the prison's legacy and cannot be separated from its labor systems. Yet within the daily reality of incarceration, skills serve a stabilizing function. They reduce idleness, create responsibility, and give inmates something to invest in beyond their sentence. In a place where freedom is distant or impossible, competence becomes a form of agency. For correctional officers, these skill systems also shape daily work. Officers supervising skilled crews often describe fewer behavioral issues and more predictable routines. When inmates have clear roles and responsibilities, tensions can decrease. Structure does not eliminate conflict, but it can reduce it. As years pass, skills at Angola are not just learned, they become part of the institution's identity. Workshops, fields, kitchens, and hospice rooms all carry layers of experience built up over decades. Knowledge accumulates, even as individual lives remain confined. This is the hidden infrastructure of Angola prison. Not just walls and fences, but the skills that keep everything running. In the next chapter, we will examine what these skills mean in the long term, for inmates who may never leave, for staff who work alongside them, and for the broader questions Angola raises about punishment, purpose, and humanity inside America's most enduring prison. Purpose, identity, and the long meaning of skill. At Louisiana State Penitentiary, Angola, the value of skill goes far beyond productivity. For many inmates, especially those serving life sentences, skill becomes a foundation for identity in a place where most identities are stripped away. When release is unlikely or impossible, the question is no longer how to prepare for the outside world, but how to live meaningfully inside. In a prison defined by permanence, work gives shape to time. Days are measured not only by counts and meals, but by tasks completed, projects finished, and responsibilities fulfilled. An inmate who maintains equipment, builds furniture, prepares meals, or tends crops develops a role that extends beyond his sentence. He is no longer just an inmate number. He becomes the welder, the carpenter, the cook, the mechanic, the caregiver. This shift matters. Long-term incarceration can erode a person's sense of self. Without milestones like release dates or parole hearings, years can feel interchangeable. Skills interrupt that erosion. Mastery creates progress. Teaching others creates continuity. Even within strict confinement, these elements restore a limited sense of agency. For inmates who train others, mentorship becomes a quiet form of leadership. Experienced workers guide new arrivals, correct mistakes, and model discipline. This leadership is informal, but it is real. It shapes behavior more effectively than punishment alone. In environments where respect is scarce, competence earns it. Nowhere is this more visible than in Angola's hospice program. Inmate caregivers who tend to the terminally ill describe their work as the most meaningful role they have ever held. Caring for dying men, many of whom were once feared or isolated, forces reflection, patience, and empathy. These caregivers do not receive public recognition or personal reward. What they gain is internal dignity, responsibility, and a sense that their presence matters. This kind of purpose challenges common assumptions about incarceration. Angola is often portrayed solely as a place of punishment, and for many that portrayal is accurate. Yet within its walls, inmates build lives structured around contribution rather than chaos. This does not erase crimes or suffering, but it complicates the narrative. For correctional staff, skilled inmate labor shapes the daily rhythm of the prison. Officers supervising work crews often report more stable environments. Predictable routines reduce tension. Clear expectations reduce conflict. When inmates are invested in their work, they have something to lose if discipline is broken. This does not mean Angola is free of violence or misconduct. It means that structure competes with disorder. Skill competes with idleness. Purpose competes with despair. From an administrative perspective, inmate labor is essential to Angola's survival. The prison's vast size and remote location make outside contracting impractical for many tasks. Inmate workers keep infrastructure functioning, maintain grounds, prepare food, and support internal services. Without this labor, the institution would struggle to operate at its current scale. Yet this dependence also raises ethical questions that cannot be ignored. Angola's history as a former plantation, worked largely by incarcerated black men, has drawn national scrutiny. Critics argue that inmate labor, particularly agricultural labor, echoes historical exploitation. Debates over compensation, voluntariness, and fairness continue today. These criticisms are part of Angola's reality. They exist alongside the lived experience of inmates who find meaning in work. Both can be true at once. Angola's labor systems can be simultaneously stabilizing and controversial, purposeful and problematic. For inmates serving life sentences, the future is measured differently. Skills are not preparation for release. They are preparation for survival. They provide mental structure in a place where monotony can become dangerous. They allow men to imagine themselves as something other than their worst act. Over decades, this has shaped Angola's culture. Skills are respected. Reliability is valued. Inmate workers who show consistency often remain in the same roles for years, building deep institutional knowledge. This continuity benefits staff and inmates alike, creating a fragile but functional balance. Families on the outside often see only fragments of this reality. Visits, phone calls, and letters rarely convey the full scope of daily life inside Angola. Loved ones may know that an inmate works in a shop or field, but not what that work means psychologically. For some families, learning that a relative has found purpose offers comfort in an otherwise painful situation. Angola's skill systems also raise larger questions about the goals of incarceration. If rehabilitation is limited or impossible for those serving life sentences, what replaces it? At Angola, work fills that space. It does not promise freedom. It offers stability. This does not mean Angola should be idealized. It remains a maximum security prison with harsh sentences and a difficult history. The presence of skill and purpose does not erase the reality of confinement or the suffering that brought men there. But it does reveal something often overlooked. Even in places designed for punishment, human systems adapt. The hidden skills inside Angola are not remarkable because they exist, but because of what they represent. They show how people build meaning in the absence of hope for release. They show how structure can reduce chaos. And they show how identity can survive confinement. As Angola continues to operate, these skill systems will remain central to its identity. New inmates will arrive. Others will age and die inside its walls. Work crews will continue to plant crops, repair buildings, cook meals, and care for the sick. The prison will function, day after day, largely because of the labor of the men it confines. In the end, Angola is not only a story of punishment. It is also a story of endurance, of skills learned quietly, of purpose forged behind bars, and of lives shaped not just by sentences, but by the work that fills them. This is the deeper reality behind Angola prison. A place where hidden skills become the structure that holds everything together.